Hello survival family. In today's video we are going to be discussing what it would really be like to go to war. So I can see who watches my videos as far as like age range and stuff, and the majority, not all, but a good like 50% is I think it was from like age 26 to like 32, so around my age. So none of us have lived through a wartime, thank goodness, in our lives. I'll be 28 this year. I'm getting old. So unlike our grandparents, like, we don't know what war is like. I mean, I know I have researched, World War I and II and Vietnam, all kinds of different things. And even though, you can research that, but it never really prepares you for that. So I wanted to do a video and kind of research and share with you what it was like during those war times and what we could potentially be looking at for if we went to war with Russia. That's what we're being threatened with right now, and kind of what we need to prepare for. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was rationing and what that looked like. I have a few examples that I researched that I will pop up here. In wartime, a significant portion of production and manufacturing resources are given to military needs. That leaves fewer supplies for those left at home. During World War II, rationing was implemented to control the equal distribution of items in short supply. Although the primary goal of rationing was equal distribution, a secondary goal was to free valuable factory resources for war production. Therefore, adherence to rationing was also considered a highly patriotic duty. Listen to this. Anyone caught hoarding resources was breaking the law, but they were often chastened by their friends and neighbors for the unpatriotic behavior. Over 8,000 ration boards were set up in America alone to ensure everyone understood and adhered to the complex rationing system. Even back in World War II, people considered people who prepped hoarders. It was even illegal made back then. It just blows my mind even back then. So people who saw the writing on the wall, decided to stock up on things, decided to prepare for their family and make sure that their family had what they needed. They were considered illegal and hoarders, and it just drives me insane. There's even a photo, I'll pop it up right here, that shows this lady who had all this stuff and was walking away. They even drew her even more overweight than the person behind her who was asking for food. So it just even back then is painting prepping in a really bad light, and I don't understand why it's seen like that if you choose to prepare and choose to make sure your family is provided for. We also have to take into consideration this was a different time period. Back then, people had morals, or at least more than what they did now. The president actually cared about the people, and it wasn't just about money for the most part. And they were actually trying to take care of their citizens. So think about, this is a different time period. Our government's not going to help us. Our president is in denial that we're in a food shortage right now. So think about how it's going to be when there isn't any food on the shelves. The government isn't even giving rations out, and your friends and family know that you have food. A set amount of certain items was distributed weekly or monthly to every citizen. This included coffee, tea, sugar, and clothing. In England, only 4 ounces of sugar was permitted weekly, whereas in Germany, they got 4 ounces of sugar per day until later in the war. Government issue ration coupon or stamp books were required to be presented to merchants before purchase. In America, only 2 pairs of shoes could be purchased in any given year. A lot of people who call preppers crazy and hoarders, like we've already kind of discussed, but it makes me wonder how many entitled Americans would be against prepping once this started. Because what they don't realize, because we've never had to live it like that, is that they can't just go to the store and get what they want. They get a set amount every month. Can you imagine most Americans only being able to purchase 1 pair of shoes per year? That's not per person, that's per family. So can you imagine how people are going to act when they have to live like that. Americans aren't used to that. We're not a society of any type of holding back. I mean, that's why we're one of the most overweight countries in the world, is because we're not used to having to not like be regulated. Like, we're used to just having everything. So can you imagine a society where they hand out these books and say, this is all you get for the month, like, enjoy? I wonder how many people would be wishing that instead of calling preppers crazy, that they had too hoarded, quote unquote, or stocked up, however you want to see it. Meats, cheese, butter, and canned goods were assigned points. In addition to money, the consumer would also be required to have to accumulate the total number of points from their ration stamps for the purchase. A housewife doing weekly shopping, therefore, would have to budget both her total stamp values and the family finances to decide how best to spend the family allowance for the week. That's also a concept that Americans will not understand, because we live in a society that is run by money. If you have the money and you can purchase it, then you do. Where this is saying, if you didn't catch it, that it didn't matter if you had the money. You had to have the correct amount of points on top of paying for that item. Point values changed often. The housewife would be expected to keep up with all the changes and budget accordingly. Each family member had a set number of points they could use per month, generally less than 50 points per person. Meat, cheese, and butter were commonly rationed with points. But by 1943, in America, all canned, dried, and frozen food were also point rationed. For example, 1 can of peas could be 14 points, while a can of pineapple would be 20 points. Clearly, these two items alone would take over half of one family member's points for the month and not generate a month's worth of meals. So careful planning was critical. How many of us as preppers are already doing this? Or we're learning to live out of our stockpile. We're learning to live out of our gardens. You know, again, people like to call preppers crazy, but if something like this were to happen, a lot of us would already be kind of used to this type of lifestyle. But more importantly, a lot more Americans would not be. Here's just one example of a ration card. This one is a meat card. And as you can see, there is a meat on here that is 60 points. A lot of them are over 40. And if your family member only had 50 points per, month, look how hard that would be to budget out how much food you could buy. And so it just shows you how important it would be to be stocked up on other things, because this isn't even like a month's supply of meat. This would be a meat per meal for one person's card. That's all they get for the month. So you can see how important it would be to have other sources of protein and to really just be stocked up on some things to be able to put things on your table. So I found this really interesting, researching and just kind of seeing what families had to deal with, what they were looking at. And it's honestly, I don't know about you guys, but it made me really think about my stockpile and what I have in there. And sometimes I feel like I buy things because they're on sale or because, I'm just buying willy-nilly. So it really made me think, okay, if we went to this rationing thing, if we went to war, what do I need to have stocked up on to be able to feed this little guy? So I don't know, I just found this really interesting. Let me know if you did. I have a few other things that I would like to cover on what it would be like in wartime if we were to go to war with Russia based on past history. I would love to make those videos for you, but I don't want to do the research and make it if you guys aren't interested. So let me know in the comment section down below. Also let me know what you think about this. Did any of your family or go through this, your grandparents, tips and tricks they used during this time? I would love to hear it. Or just what you overall thought, if this was the first time hearing this information or kind of a refresher hearing this information. I would love to hear your thoughts. But that is it for today's video. Please give it a big thumbs up and I will catch you all in the next one. Say bye.